In this week's Parsha Korach, we learn about Korach, who was the one of the richest men that existed at that time. He had so much wealth that he took out from Egypt with him, and I think that there's a hint in the beginning of the parsha when it says Vayikach Korach, and we don't. It doesn't say what he took, and then it goes on. The and it tells us of Dasan and Aviran and On ben Pelet. And the famous question, of course, is what did he take? And the answer to that is he took whatever he could. He was an opportunist, and I think that's how he made all his fortune. Is he made sure to manipulate things to be a taker, and he was successful. He was successful and managed to attain much wealth. And as we know, it's very possible when people become wealthy, just for the sake of becoming wealthy, of taking and wanting more, it becomes sometimes an illness. And he had so much. And because he had so much wealth, he wanted to go on to the next thing, which was power. And he got all the people riled up to stand up against Moshe and Aaron. He took people with uh, different arguments how he could with the Bnei Reuben, who should originally have attained the position of being the eldest. Um, that they thought that maybe that they deserved a higher position. And he managed to go take the important people and say, you're all important too. Why is Aaron getting the kahuna? And he played on everybody's weaknesses, gripes, desires for a better future. And, this is one of the pitfalls of having so much and it, being successful time after time, that he thought he can do and he can get anything. And he challenged Moshe. He got so blinded by his desires for more that he challenged Moshe and Aaron, and got the people to follow him. Now, because he wanted more and his possessions were so important to him, it was really fitting that the punishment was that the earth opened up and swallowed him and all his possessions. Earthly possessions, is a gravitational pull to the physical materialism is represented by the earth. And it's very interesting that that's the way he was punished and that's the way he died. Everything he had and everything with him, it was so important. You want to be with it for eternity, you get swallowed up by the earth, by the materialism. And the interesting thing is the Anshe, the important people who he got, when they challenged Moshe, and Moshe said, okay, you guys bring your ketoret and your fire pans, and Aaron will bring his, and let's see who God really chose, if you want to be challenged. And those people died a different death. Their punishment was that they were consumed up by a fire, because their desire was to do what they perceived to be the holiest work. But they should have known also. They should have been content. They should have been content to serve God in the way that they could serve God. Because nothing is more important than the other. Everybody has to do their job the best that they can. And they should have already learned from Aaron's sons were brought a strange fire that God did not command. That challenging what was Aaron's position and bringing something that was not requested from God was playing with fire, pun intended. And I think the most important lesson is that, God usually lets people go in the way that they want to go. Korach wanted stuff, he got all the stuff. But sometimes, there comes a point where it's too far. But when we do things and when we get on that role of inhabit of getting what we want and not asking ourselves, why do we want more? Whatever it is, more of whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be money. It could be position, power, whatever the more is. When we feel we're not getting enough, we have to ask ourselves why. Why do we want that? Why aren't we satisfied? Is it true that it isn't enough, whatever it is, because of some more lofty goal, or is it just because we think that more is better and that we deserve more for whatever reason? It's always important to ask ourselves what our motive is, and is it really the right thing to analyze a situation, because all of them should have really known better, and they didn't, and they failed because they were running with their desires. So definitely, before we get to the point of doing something that is extremely dangerous, if we analyze everything that we do as we do it, then we don't get ourselves in that kind of a bind. If you do that in earnest, to scrutinize everything that you do and why you do it, it's important. It's important not to just act, and to think about what we do and why we do it and what we need and what we don't need and what we want and why we want it. And that's the only way to have a successful life, and also to be happy with what we have. With that, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.